Hello, my name is Tyler Creasy and welcome to the Planning and Zoning segment of Amherst County's Virtual Citizens Academy. Zoning arises from the state's police power to protect the public's health, safety, and welfare. The first zoning ordinance for Amherst County was originally adopted on February 2nd, 1982. However, as zoning ordinances are a living document that are subject to modifications in our ever-changing world. Therefore, our original zoning ordinance adopted in 1982 is not the same as it is today. However, it has served as a basis for the numerous modifications that have been made to the county zoning code. The Planning Commission consists of 7 members, all of whom are appointed by the Board of Supervisors. 5 members are drawn from the 5 election districts. 1 member serves in an at-large position and is drawn from any district. And the last member is a member of the Board of Supervisors. All appointees of the Planning Commission are voting members except for the Board of Supervisor liaison. The duties and functions of the Amherst Planning Commission are to promote the orderly development of the county and its environment. The Commission serves primarily in an advisory capacity to the Board of Supervisors, in which it is their goal to provide specific, measurable, reasonable, timely information, advice recommendations, and reports on matters within the community. The Commission meets the third Thursday of each month at 7 p.m. Now let's talk about zoning permits. Zoning permits are issued for any new structure, structural alteration, and any new or change of use for a parcel of land. The zoning permit will indicate if the use and/or structure is permitted, a special exception, or a variance. A permitted use can be approved administratively by staff, whereas a special exception use will need to be brought before the Planning Commission for a recommendation and the Board of Supervisors for approval. More on special exception uses in a little bit. A variance is granted by either the zoning administrator or through the Board of Zoning Appeals and is a modification concerning the physical requirements on a lot or parcel, including but not limited to the size, height, location, or features related to any building, structure, or improvements. Now, you may be asking yourself, how do I apply for a zoning permit? Great question. You can apply for a zoning permit in 2 ways, either at the website on our online portal or by coming into the office. Staff suggestion is always to come into the office just in case you have any questions about the project ahead of you. The Geographic Information System, or commonly referred to as GIS, is an online parcel viewer that is free to everyone. A link to our online GIS system can be found on the county's webpage. Our database is contracted out to a third-party vendor, Timmons Group. The county's GIS system can be an excellent source of information for you. Some of the information shown on the GIS includes zoning districts of each parcel, current and prior ownership of a certain tract of land, areas prone to flooding, locations of water and sewer lines, and also the locations of streams, rivers, and even school zones. One important aspect of the GIS system that is important to note is that the property lines and size of a parcel are not always exact. During our discussion of what a zoning permit is, you learned that a special exception is a type of use. Depending on the proposed use and what zoning district you are in, it can either be not permitted, permitted, or a special exception. A special exception use can only be approved by the Board of Supervisors. Prior to that public hearing with the board, the applicant shall be part of a Planning Commission public hearing in which that public body will provide a recommendation to the board on the special exception use. In addition to this, the board may place conditions upon that use in which the applicant must follow in order for that zoning permit to be issued. Just like a special exception, rezoning and/or conditional zoning must go through the public hearing process with both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. Just as the name implies, rezoning is a process to change the zoning district of a parcel. This would then provide different uses that would be permitted either by right or through a special exception that would not have otherwise been available with the original zoning district. So what is the difference between rezoning and conditional zoning? A conditional zoning is a rezoning but with a proffer. A proffer is an offer or proposal that the property owner or his agents commits himself as an additional requirement or restriction on his property. The owner/applicant would proffer those additional requirements and/or restrictions during the rezoning public hearing process. and they would then become part of their application, and if approved, recorded in the courthouse to run with the land in perpetuity. Now let's dive into subdivision plats. Contrary to popular belief, subdivision approval consists of several different plans and not just the creation of new lots. On an annual basis, typical plats that the planning office reviews are reconfigurations, which move existing lot lines but do not create new lots. Subdivisions are plats that create new lots, which must conform to the county's minimum lot size and road frontage requirements. Plats that create 10 lots or less can be approved by staff, whereas anything over 10 new lots has to be approved by the Amherst County Planning Commission. Family division plats allow individuals to subdivide off a new lot which must meet the minimum lot size, but is allowed to have a reduction in lot frontage requirements, so long as a 20-foot right-of-way is established to the property. The family division must also be granted to a qualified family member and stay in that person's name for at least 5 years. The last platting review performed by county staff is a mix of several plats that do not have to be signed by staff, but do have to be approved through a plat type form. These plats include, but are not limited to, resurveys, boundary line agreements, and easement plats. The Planning and Zoning Office looks, reviews, and/or approves roughly 600 zoning and/or subdivision plats on an annual basis. That concludes the Planning and Zoning segment of Amherst County's Virtual Citizen Academy. We appreciate you taking the time to listen and learn a little more about what our department does and what services we can provide to you as citizens of Amherst.